Mr. Delgado, you have referred to the city's budget crisis and suggested that one of the solutions would be to continue the mandatory and the voluntary furloughs. But we live in a city where already parks are being closed, city services aren't being delivered. How can we continue to restrict the city departments that we depend on and consider that to be a budget balancing solution?
Good question. I actually have in my hand here from the city controller's office where not only are employees taking their mandated time off, but they're also taking voluntary days off. I believe that this option here is a great option. It's going to save the city $64 million. Again, I'm reading from the city controller's office. If anybody wants to see this document after the meeting, they'll be happy to see this as well. I also want on record to say that we should get the uncollected debt processed. The city of Los Angeles does not have a central collection debt process, which is over $260 million. Again, I have the city controllers here from July 2010, if anybody would like to see this. I believe in order to make up on the furlough days, the difference, I believe we should work with the nonprofits and with volunteers within our community. Right now, if we could have volunteers come in, get in within the city system, and be ready to go once the city does turn around, because there's going to be a day when the city can hire you, can get you a job, that if you get in there, volunteer, while others are taking their furlough days off, that way at least you're in the system. We need to get our youth to get in there and volunteer. They're in the system. So when the city does turn around, they'll be able to hire those youth who have volunteered and other community members as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks. Mr. Laws, I don't know where you stand on the city's budget and how you're going to propose to fill that $200 million gap. I don't know if it's increasing revenue by finding money somewhere in this neighborhood, somewhere in the city. Is it cutting city services? What's your proposed solution for balancing the city's budget deficit?
I'm glad you asked that question. Because I'm actually one of the only candidates who's actually vowed, if I'm elected, to cut my salary, my personal salary, by 50% to actually give back to my district. And I believe that's actually one of the ways to actually handle the city's budget deficit is by us as elected officials to be able to give back to the community. Because not only do we want to actually help out the community, but we want to show the community how serious we are. And so I've actually vowed with them that if I get elected to cut my salary by 50%. And another way to actually tackle the actual deficit is instead of me actually voluntarily, once again, I'm a people's person. So I don't want to make any decisions off of myself. I want to ask the people. So we can actually open up some type of polls inside of the neighborhood city council's office to be able to have people come in and actually vote for the different services that they feel that the community can cut. But once again, I actually wouldn't even try to cut anything. We can try to work around it and to try to see if we can all come up with a solution. I'm a solution person. I believe that for every problem there's a solution, and for every question there is an answer. And so that's how I would do it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Farrell, you've referred to the budget crisis as needing a collective take. That we would work together on addressing the budget, and that it would lead to, from this collaboration, it would lead to a transition to performance-based budgeting, and that would balance our city's budget. Could you tell us exactly what you mean, and how we're going to get to a balanced budget using performance-based budgeting?
Performance-based budgeting starts in the city of Los Angeles next year. It's already in place. It's spelled out in the document, and is available on Controller's website. Wendy Grove has put that piece together. It starts next year in the Department of Planning and the Department of Street Services. That's done. But more importantly, on the budget, under the charter, the mayor has the responsibility. That does not mean that a council person cannot, in collaboration with neighborhood councils, do it for a council district. Maxine Waters is here. She represents an institution in Congress that said, notwithstanding the fact that the president puts together the budget, the Legislative Black Caucus puts together its own budget. based on the insights of those men and women as to what is best for America, for their point of view. My assertion is that's what neighborhood council people can do. The fact that the meetings are being held to be advisory to the mayor's budget does not mean that the council person cannot say, let us discuss what we want to do based on our own values in our district to put together a balanced budget and do it. And I'd like to suggest that we would look differently at the harbor department and the money that comes out of that. We would look differently at the community redevelopment agency. We would look differently across the board. And my assertion is, notwithstanding the fact that I'm not the councilman here now, I will be bringing that message to the neighborhood councils, whether I am elected or not, because it is so fundamental an issue, and the times cry out for more local participation by those like neighborhood council persons who have been elected to serve.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, you've offered some very specific solutions to the budget crisis that range from reducing politicians' pay, taking away their cell phones and their cars, and across the board, pay cuts for department heads. But the one that piqued my interest was you suggested that we could balance the budget by eliminating overtime and paid time off for city employees. It's in their contracts. In fact, some have suggested it's a workaround, if you will, a bonus plan that's in their contract. How can you bring that about?
I think the important thing of what I said is that we need to start at the top. You know, it's not fair in the city of LA to make the workers take the furloughs and the cuts while the department heads are making $300,000 and $400,000 a year, flying to China, driving around their fancy cars, don't even live in the city of LA. So that's what I'm talking about. I think the elected officials need to take a cut. I think they should leadership by example. I think their staffs need to be reduced. I think there shouldn't be the thousands of city cars that we have. I think our department heads are paid well to do a great job. If they're not doing a great job, they need to take a pay cut. I was talking to someone at the city clerk's office just a couple days ago who was complaining that he's going to get more furloughs next year while his department head brought in 2 assistants at $175,000 a year. I think that's got to change. And I think when you get into the point of negotiating with the various collective bargaining units, that's a negotiating process, and that's everyone deserves the right to negotiate that issue. But when you're talking about department heads, elected officials, how many deputy mayors do we have now in the city of LA? Over 150? I mean, it has gotten totally out of hand. And I don't believe there should be any departments are safe and sacred cows. I think if the management of the various public safety departments can't deliver effective quality services, then those management should leave, you know. But I do not believe we should be always cutting the people that are on the street that are providing the services while we have this special status for our department heads and elected officials.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Stuart, you've mentioned the healthcare costs of the city family, but in the context of a $7 billion budget, that kind of fades against the greater need to come up with some solutions. What else would you propose beyond cutting healthcare costs of city employees in order to balance the city budget without leaving our neighborhoods short of city services?
Well, besides the healthcare, I think when we talk about pensions, we haven't talked today about pension spiking. And this is a long-term solution to our long-term budget issues. And I would like to see every city employee, whether you're in law enforcement, fire department, public works, planning, wherever you may be, have their pension based on a 5-year average of their income, not just on the last year or two, to end pension spiking. I think we need to look for long-term solutions, Stephen. It can't be just an overnight fix. When we talked about furloughs, I think we're very inefficient. You look at the city of Long Beach, they have 2 Fridays a month where they close. As a city employee, I found tremendous inefficiencies when you have a Department of Transportation has half their staff off on Monday and half their staff off on Friday. You can't get a darn thing done in the city on a Friday any longer. So I believe we need to have a streamlined approach to it that I think will be more efficient and save resources in terms of what bang for the buck we get out of our city hall employees. I also believe some of our holidays, like Columbus Day, That needs to be renegotiated. Do we really need to have Columbus Day off as a paid holiday? I don't think so. So they're little things, but I think we have to take those steps to be able to move in the right direction and cut those expenses. Can I add one more? I got a few more seconds. I've worked on some public works projects where we have 35% contingencies and then 20% contingencies on top of that in our projects. And I think we need to look at some of our ways that we manage the projects that we build in this city. There's got to be a better way to do it cheaper than we do. Thank you.
Thank you.